Okay, today we are going to be talking about the coordinate plane. And the coordinate plane is this XY coordinate plane. We're going to title this coordinate plane. And this should just be review for you guys, but within this coordinate plane, I have an x-axis. And the x-axis is horizontal. It runs left to right. Then I have this axis that runs vertically, and this is my y-axis. So here I have this coordinate plane. I have an x-axis, and I have a y-axis. Horizontal is the x, vertical is the y. As I can see, this coordinate plane is busted up into 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 parts. In each one of these parts, we call quadrants. The one right here to the right is quadrant 1. We use Roman numerals to identify them, and that is a Roman numeral for 1. To number these, I always made a C right here. I took my graph starting in quadrant 1 and I made a C. I follow that C around. They are numbered counterclockwise. This is quadrant 1, and if I make my C starting in quadrant 1, finishing in quadrant 4, it follows that C. So this is quadrant 2. This down here would be quadrant 3, 3 lines, and then this over here is quadrant 4. And I make that 4 with a 1 and a V and then lines over the top. This is actually saying 5 subtract 1 is 4. That's how Roman numerals work. So I've got quadrant 1, quadrant 2, quadrant 3, and quadrant 4. This right here, right in the middle, this has a special name. This is where my graph starts. This is the origin. This is the ordered pair 0, 0. And that's where I start. When I'm plotting points, I start at the origin. That's 0, 0. This is called the origin. And origin means where it originates. That's where it starts. Let's look at this, for example. If I have this point right here, this is an ordered pair. This is 2, 5. To the right 2, up 5. And remember, when I'm labeling these points, the first point is my x, how far I move right or left on the x-axis. If it is a positive 2, I'm moving to the right, and then I am going up 5 on the y, the ordered pair 2, 5. X is first, I move left or right first. If x was negative, I would have moved to the left. If y is positive, I move up. If y is negative, I would move down. In the first quadrant, your x will always be positive and your y will always be positive. These are positive in the first quadrant. Now, if I look over here and I plot this point here, what's that point there? Well, start at the origin. I'm going to the left 9, and I am going up 8. This is the ordered pair, -9, 8. And I can see that when I am in the second quadrant, my x will be negative and my y will be positive. X is going to be negative, y would be positive if I have a point that lies in quadrant 2. If I move down here to quadrant 3, and I put this point right here, Start at the origin. Left 10, down 3. Negative 10, negative 3. In the third quadrant, both your x and your y will both be negative. And that makes sense because if I have any point down here, you're going to be to the left and you're going to be down. Both are going to be negative. If I plot that point right there and ask you to identify it, you would say, well, I start at the origin. To the right 4, x is a positive 4, and then I am going down 6. This is the ordered pair 4, negative 6, and I can see that in quadrant 4, my x and my y, x would be positive, y would be negative. Now let me ask you this. What is that point right there? Well, hopefully you could say, I'm not moving on the x-axis. I'm just moving on the y. I'm not moving on the x. This right here, if I don't move on the x-axis, that is the ordered pair 0, 4. Question is now, does this lie in the first quadrant or does it lie in the second quadrant, quadrant 1 or quadrant 2? Well, it's kind of in between them, isn't it? And actually, this lies on the y-axis. We say this lies, this isn't in quadrant 1 or quadrant 2, this lies on the y-axis. And we need to keep something in mind. Think about this. Any point that lies on this y-axis here is always going to have a x of what? Are you ever moving left or right? No, you're just moving up or down. X will always be 0 for a point that lies on the y-axis. The converse of that, on the flip side, if I have something that's there, this is the ordered pair negative 9, but now my y is 0 because I'm not going up or down. This lies in between quadrants 2 and 3, and we don't say it lies in between there, we say it lies on the x-axis. This lies on the x-axis. And again, if you have a y of 0, you are not moving up or down. You're staying on the x-axis. The only thing you're going to have a value for is where it crosses that x-axis, which at this case has to be negative 9. If it was right here, it would be 8, 0. To the right 8, and I'm not moving up or down. That takes care of the coordinate plane stuff. Do a few example problems of what's coming, what's going to be posted. You're going to be asked to evaluate. Evaluate the expression I will say when x is equal to 1/3 and y is equal to negative 4. Let's look at these examples. Here's this expression, negative 3 xy. You need to evaluate it. I need to have an answer. I have a value for x and y. You need to substitute these in. In order to evaluate this, I need to know what this equals when x is 1/3 and y is negative 4. So plug those in. This is negative 3 times 1/3 times negative 4. I just simply substitute these values in. One goes in for x, one goes in for y. And now I just multiply these straight across. Well, I can see right now my answer is going to be positive because I've got a negative times a negative It's going to be positive. 3 times 1/3, well, that's just 3 over 1. I'm multiplying by the reciprocal. That's going to be a 1. 1 times 4 would give me a 4. Or you'd have -1 times -4. This is going to be a positive 4. We simply plug them in. Let's do this again. Let's say I will do 10y divided by 12x plus 4. Again, simply plug these in. Y is equal to -4. 10 times -4 divided by 12 times 1/3 plus 4. Simplify. 10 times -4, -40, divided by 12 times 1/3, or 12 divided by 3. Multiplying by a third is the same as dividing by 3. 12 divided by 3 would be 4, plus 4, well, that gives me 8. I would simply take -40 divided by 8. That gives me -5, and I'm done. Let's look at one more. Let's do 9x squared minus 2y. Remember, when you square something, it is taking that value and multiplying it by itself. If x is 1/3, I take 1/3 and I multiply by itself 2 times. So this is 9 times 1/3 times 1/3 minus 2 times -4. Multiplying fractions straight across. You have 9 still. 1 times 1 is 1. 3 times 3 is 9. Minus, you have a minus minus. Negative times a negative would be a positive. 2 times 4 is 8. Hopefully you realize that this is 9 over 1, and these are reciprocals. This is 9 divided by 9, or I know when I multiply by the reciprocal, it gives me 1 plus 8 is equal to 9, and I'm done. That's all you have to do on the other assignment. On the Fair Game Review, take those values for x and y, plug them in, and evaluate it. The backside of that assignment is just simply labeling and ordering pairs. Give those a whirl, see what you can come up with.